Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Laura Scandurra. I'm the Executive Director of the Potato Sustainability Alliance. Really happy to be with you today to talk about sustainability in the potato sector. It's an exciting time to be involved in sustainability, seeing a surge in interest on the part of both buyers and consumers in where their food comes from, how it's produced, and not just for potatoes, but across the board. This is a trend that we think is going to continue. Consumers are only going to become more and more interested in information about where their food comes from. This gives us an opportunity. It's an opportunity to proactively engage and help shape that evolving consumer dialogue around sustainability in a way that's positive to the industry. Sustainability means different things to different people. At PSA, we're focused on how we can work better or how we can better understand, evaluate, and communicate potato sustainability, and also how is it that we can work better together all along the supply chain to not only benchmark and communicate sustainability, but support ongoing improvements and achieve tangible results that drives value for all of our stakeholders. I'm going to share my slides here in a minute. I'm going to start off by sharing a bit of background on PSA and then transition to how we're working collectively through our membership and in partnership with growers to meet customer and consumer demands. I'm also looking forward to the question and answer session today. I'm anxious to hear your views on sustainability and also how PSA can deliver a strong value proposition for growers and grower organizations. As an organization, we got our start in 2009 as the Potato Sustainability Initiative. Way back then, while I wasn't around at the time, I joined in the fall of 2019. We got our start as a practice-based solution to satisfy customer or buyer concerns, particularly around pesticide use in potato production. Our founding members were Lamb Wesson, J.R. Simplot, Cavendish Farms, and McCain Foods. We launched our first survey, which was an IPM survey in 2010, and I'm told we did that literally with pencils and paper in hand while sitting around a table together with growers. We've come a long way since that first survey. Our survey is much more sophisticated now, and we use it to assess the adoption of upwards of 100 sustainability practices that we categorize as basic, steward, expert, and master. And these categories are meant to indicate where a particular farm falls on the sustainability continuum. We implemented key performance indicators in 2015 and an audit in 2016, which we later paused for process improvements. We opened a new chapter in 2020. We incorporated as a nonprofit, transitioned to a roundtable format, and rebranded ourselves as the Potato Sustainability Alliance. We now have 27 members across 6 stakeholder categories, and last year 571 growers in 6 provinces and 16 states completed the survey. These are our members. They are quite varied and represent multiple sectors of the potato supply chain, and that's by design. Through diverse membership, we can bring the entire potato system together, and that gives us a much better perspective on how to effectively address potato sustainability issues. Our vision for the future is to be the recognized leader advancing potato sustainability. Our mission is to work at the intersection of farmers, businesses, and communities as the trusted alliance to support, advance, and communicate potato sustainability. And this is inspired by our membership. We believe that we can achieve more by working together rather than individually. And we also believe that trust is our single most valuable asset, and we care for it and nurture it through our values: transparency, farmer-centric, excellence, integrity, and knowledge-driven. What does all this mean in terms of concrete deliverables? Well, as a newly formed nonprofit and a member-driven roundtable, we want to be that go-to organization for potato sustainability. We want to be that trusted alliance. What does that mean to growers and grower organizations? Well, I can't emphasize enough that we understand that the grower is the best person to make the decision for your farm. We don't want to tell you how to farm. What we do want to do is work in partnership with growers along the supply chain and with environmental NGOs to identify those practices that improve the environmental footprint of potato production, as well as the productivity and profitability side of the equation. We realize that it needs to be economically viable to be sustainable. We're also focused on telling your sustainability story, and there's a good story to tell. Likewise, PSA provides a platform for growers to strengthen your relationship with buyers. For businesses, we offer the opportunity to gain insights into on-farm production practices, as well as networking and collaboration opportunities. And for environmental NGOs, we offer the opportunity to engage with farmers and along the supply chain to drive the adoption of practices that support lands, water, and wildlife. As a new organization, over the course of the last year, our focus has been really on the building blocks, setting up operations so that we can effectively operate as a roundtable, putting a governance structure in place, adopting bylaws. We've also been focused on building membership, creating a definition of potato sustainability that we can all rally around. Also taking our survey, our key performance indicators, and our audit and evolving that into a sustainability assessment framework, which I'll talk more about in just a couple of minutes. And then developing a narrative so that we can proactively tell our story and also connect the dots between the values and practices that we see in the potato sector and the evolving expectations of consumers and other stakeholders. PSA is driven by membership, and with our diverse membership from grower organizations to allied industries to buyers and NGOs, we have a strong foundation for advancing sustainability. Our governance structure reflects our membership, so you can see that we have board members from each of our stakeholder categories, including 6 grower board members. I won't go into this in detail, but this is the governance structure that we put in place. So you can see we have a board of directors, an executive committee, and then 4 standing committees, all of which report to our broader membership. It's important that we have a common definition of potato sustainability. We define it as the production of safe and nutritious potatoes using practices that are environmentally sound, socially equitable, and economically viable now and for generations to come. What are we focused on in 2021? Well, certainly job number 1 is developing an integrated sustainability assessment framework, and that's putting together the tools, the processes, the Swiss Army knife, if you will, so that we can consistently measure, benchmark, and communicate progress in a way that makes sense for growers and all of our members. Telling our sustainability story is also an important priority. What's our message? How are we going to deliver it? Who's going to deliver it? And we have a communications committee that's working on this. Having just transitioned to a roundtable format, we're also very focused on developing and delivering strong value propositions for all of our stakeholders and working together to set our priorities, define what we want to achieve, how it is that we're going to work together, and then finally building membership with an emphasis on diversity, which once again we think will help strengthen us as an organization. And all of this work is underpinned by evidence-based data, strong analytics, and values. In putting together a good, robust approach to sustainability, we identified 2 primary components. And this was based on the recognition that we're all in this together, we're all moving forward together, and everyone has a role to play. The 2 components are the Farm Sustainability Assessment Tool or survey and collaboration and partnerships. The on-farm assessment tool is focused on issues that can be resolved and addressed on-farm by individual growers independently. For those sustainability issues that need a broader, more strategic perspective beyond the farm gate, that's where the collaboration and partnerships along the supply chain comes in. As I mentioned earlier, PSA has had a survey in place for many years, and we've gone through several iterations of the survey. Its initial purpose was to provide buyers with insights into grower practices so that they could have the confidence that they were sourcing sustainably produced potatoes. As we continue to improve the survey, we're now focused on ensuring that it provides growers with the information needed to assess where their operation is on the sustainability continuum and make decisions about which practices should be adopted to drive ongoing improvements. And this is the intent of the sustainability assessment tool. It's focused on 6 priority areas that have been identified by our members: GHG or greenhouse gas emissions, water efficiency, water quality, soil health, farmer prosperity, and integrated pest management. And farmer prosperity is key because once again, if it isn't economically viable, it isn't going to be sustainable. In designing the tool, we're relying on input from our members, from technical experts, and from growers and grower organizations. And the tool is being designed so that we can credibly measure and report on performance over time. It's a practice-based approach, so we're identifying those practices that are critical for sustainability, along with the continuous improvement practices that can be implemented over time. And once again, this is based on the recognition that sustainability is a journey rather than a specific point in time, and that we can always improve. In addition, we're designing it so that it takes regional differences into account and avoids an overly prescriptive approach. And once again, this is based on the understanding that the grower is the single best person to make decisions for your farm. We're designing it so it minimizes grower time or the paperwork burden, but still generates the required data in a cost-effective way. And also so that it encourages the adoption of innovation and technology. To be successful, we need grower input. The grower perspective, I can't emphasize this enough, is useful to us because as a grower, you can help us to understand what works and what doesn't work. And we need that feedback to not only improve, but to make sure that we don't impose something that doesn't make sense from a grower perspective. This is the governance structure that we've put in place to support the development of the Sustainability Assessment Framework. As you can see, we have 6 project teams: water quality, water efficiency, GHG emissions, soil health, integrated pest management, and farmer prosperity. Each of these is a member-led team, and their work is underpinned by input from technical experts and also from growers. This is the timeline that we put in place for developing the Sustainability Assessment Framework. We're in the midst of phase 1 now, the development phase. We actually started it about 6 or 8 months ago. And for this phase, for each of the focus areas that you see listed off to the left, we created project teams. And if there's anyone listening who has participated in one of those project teams, a big thank you, because this has been a very time-intensive exercise, and we really appreciate the support of our members and from growers and technical advisors in contributing to the development of this framework. But each of those teams started by identifying sustainability challenges, those challenges that are specific to each of the focus areas, also the risk factors, the reputational risks, the regulatory risk, the financial or economic risk associated with not addressing the sustainability challenge. From there, we identified the specific opportunities for improvement and then went on to identify those practices that are critical for achieving the goals and objectives, and also those practices that could be implemented over time for ongoing improvements. We're about ready now to move into phase 2, which is the member and public feedback phase, as well as we also, during this phase, need to develop a scoring system. We need to come up with metrics or key performance indicators, an audit. And from there, we'll move into a pilot. And if all goes well, and this is an ambitious time frame, but if all goes well, we hope to implement the updated survey or the updated sustainability assessment tool in October of this year. I'd like to switch gears now and in the remaining few minutes just touch on how we're telling our sustainability story. This is a critical part of what we do and a top priority for PSA. To date, our focus has really been on telling the story to our buyers. That's why the data from our practice-based survey has been so valuable. That data provides buyers with insights into the uptake of practices across several different sustainability chapters at different levels. And while that approach has been useful for buyers, it hasn't resonated or doesn't resonate quite as well with consumers. So over the last year, we launched a new website, established a social media presence on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram. And we also started to create the content for a powerful narrative and a suite of tools that our members can use to tell our sustainability story. Part of that toolkit is a library of practices that growers are implementing in the field, everything from irrigating with captured water to using cover crops as biofumigants to investing in soil health. And if you have a story to tell, please share it with us. We're always looking for good grower stories that we can promote either through social media or share with through our members. And while that was a good start, we recognized that if we were going to develop a powerful narrative and an effective engagement strategy, we really needed to have more information around and more insights into consumer perceptions related to potato sustainability. One of our members, the National Potato Council, introduced us to CFI, or the Center for Food Integrity, and we found that they had a very novel and innovative approach to not only delving down into consumer attitudes, but connecting the dots with specific issues and really helping to understand who's driving the conversation and who's influencing it. This is a graphic from a report that CFI did for us, which we hope to be able to use to strengthen our narrative around sustainability. This is an ethnographic report, which might be a bit different from some of the research that you're used to. This uses artificial intelligence, big data, and anthropology through the lens of consumer perspectives. And the beauty of this research product is that it uncovers consumer motivations, fears, values, attitudes, which are often unspoken. And they do this by using an AI tool. And they looked at a large sample size, over 450,000 individuals, over 750,000 topics or meetings. And they looked at long form conversations, not Twitter or social media, but from places like Reddit or Quora or blog posts, YouTube sites, news sites. And they pulled all of this into a database and spent 30 hours analyzing it. And what they found, and it's not surprising, but that a key theme is the environment, and that consumers, when they make purchases, they really want to feel like they're making a difference and that they're supporting sustainability. In the analysis, 7 key themes came to the top within the context of potato sustainability. And we were pleased to see that these high-profile issues in the minds of consumers, with the exception of food waste, overlaid very nicely with what we're focused on in our assessment tool. So food waste, farmer aid, greenhouse gas emissions, soil degradation or soil health, water security, organic farming, which was somewhat synonymous with pesticide usage, and deforestation or biodiversity. In addition, as part of the report, CFI had some specific recommendations for us in terms of how we can tell our sustainability story. And some of those recommendations were communicating with consumers about how farmers are continuing to transition to more sustainable practices. So our library of grower stories would be very helpful in that regard. Inform consumers about how farmers are preventing or reversing soil degradation. Inform consumers about innovations and how potatoes use water throughout the farming process. About new technologies that reduce the need for pesticides, and also about restorative projects that are helping recover important ecosystems, including forest. I don't know if people got a chance to go to Expo, but we did do a panel discussion where we presented this report at Expo, so hopefully you got a chance to hear that. But the next step for us is for our membership to digest this report and for our communications committee to develop recommendations on a communications strategy. And with that, I'd like to thank you for the time today and would welcome any questions that you might have.